Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using for over 21 years to great effect to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships. My mind just went blank there. And to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again, absolutely free. You can also download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one, where people have been stepped through that worksheet process, and if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they'll serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And if you choose to do that before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet, contains an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and it contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. We hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. And if you have any of those to share with us, we'd appreciate you doing so. If you're able to join us live, you can go to zoom.us and open up a browser window or type in one of their phone numbers, and then enter this meeting ID, 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. And or you can call by on the phone, and one of the many numbers that Zoom makes available, and then just enter that meeting ID number. And then you can use *6 to mute and unmute yourself if you want to speak up. So we have plenty of time for comments and questions, which we greatly appreciate because it makes it infinitely easier for us to live into our intention with this work. The intention we have with this work is to be of service. And that's just so much easier to do when we know how these things are landing for you. So a lot's going on. I've been thinking about what to do today, and I think I'll read the last 2 pages of the Way of Mastery Lesson 4, if nobody has anything to bring up first. And then I'll pivot a little bit over to that One Love, One Life, One Journey, the book by Guy Finley and Dr. Ellen Dickstein. So something about our conversation several weeks ago brought up the issue of desire and the idea that in the way of mastery, there's a tremendous pivot away from what our culture would use as a definition for a desire. And they're using it to alert us to the fact that we have this creative energy force moving through us, available to us as a very useful resource, as a guide. And most of us are not made aware of it, and most of us have never spent any time effectively trying to increase our awareness of it or allow it to be part of our guidance system. So the last 2 pages from the Way of Mastery Lesson 4, at the top of this second to last page, it asks the question, and we read this yesterday. The question is, how much of the Creator am I willing to receive and allow myself to express, to have it flow through me? And then the text goes on and says, it's separating the wheat from the chaff. The chaff is the thinking of the world that would have you believe in smallness. And this can only result in your perpetual suffering. The wheat is the food that gives life because it is filled with the love of the Creator. Fear not then this energy of desire, and yet desire to embrace desire. Touch it, feel it, know it, dance with it, sing with it, and look at it innocently. Feel it totally, wholly, and completely. And then learn to discern through the ways we have given you. Discern what desire is truly. To discern that thread that is shining forth through all of your days. And then decide to let that desire inform your choices so that you create a life that serves the fulfillment of that thread of desire. He writes, I had to do the same, for I began to notice that there was a thread of desire in my heart to create some form of demonstration that would be so overwhelming that anyone who turned their attention to it could not help but be reminded that there's something far greater to life than living to survive or surviving just to live. Even when I was young, I began to get glimpses. At first they were fleeting. Something was compelling me. And as I learned to trust desire, the pictures became clearer and clearer. In those moments of revelation, when I was still but a teenager, I saw myself standing on hilltops surrounded by multitudes. And I marveled at the words that came through my mouth. I saw glimpses and pictures of being loved by millions. I saw pictures and things that I could not even comprehend because they were literally pictures of what I'm doing now. How could a teenager living in Judea 2,000 years ago have any way of comprehending the use of technologies of your modern world in which to communicate love, capital L love? Well, it made no sense to me, but still, I decided to trust it. A part of that thread was the recognition that death is unreal. Therefore, I thought that I ought to be able to create a demonstration that would prove it. Now, think about that for a moment. If a thought was born in you and you tried to share it with the world, if that particular thought was born in you and you tried to share it with the world, wouldn't you be told that you are crazy to dare to think a thought so out of line with what everybody else and everyone else in the world believes? Because I allowed and followed the thread of desire, I began to realize that it kept speaking to me day after day and week after week. I wanted to grow. It wanted to grow, rather. It wanted to be nourished. And finally, I decided I'm going to allow that thread to be nurtured. I'm going to discover where it takes me and what it is all about. Where it took me was into mastery of life and death, mastery of healing, mastery of consciousness. It took me into mastery of myself. It brought me home to my own Christed beingness. Because I followed that thread, I can talk to you today. There are many of you that appreciate what I've done because you see me as a spokesperson for capital T truth. Is it not time that you followed your own thread and became likewise a spokesperson for reality? What Michael Ryce would call actuality? The text goes on, for just as you've been sent to me, there will be many sent to you. As you step from being a seeker to a finder, for as you take up your rightful place, you become a vehicle through which the voice of the Creator will creatively touch the lives of countless persons that you may never, ever meet physically. You were birthed to be grand. You were birthed for greatness. You were birthed to shine forth the light into this world, that the world remembers that that light is true. And the world remembers that darkness is an illusion. Be you, therefore, that which you are. Be you the light of the world. And I will delight in journeying with you. I can join with anyone who chooses to step into their own Christedness. The connecting thread is that thread of desire. Therefore, begin to turn toward the energy of desire within yourself, to separate the wheat from the chaff, by first learning to feel it for just a minute without judging it, and then to deepen that process. You will reach the point where with every breath that you breathe, you're in touch with the energy of desire. And that is the only voice that you will give authority to. You'll not be able to keep up with the loving creation that wants to express through you. You will marvel at the friends that come into your life and how your external solar system in which your planet is spinning changes. You will marvel and wonder at how it's all happening. You will finally discover that you are not the maker and doer of your life. You will discover that the Creator wants to direct and make life through you. Then you will know the truth that sets you free. And here's a quote separated out in the text. Of myself, I do nothing. But my Father, through me, does all things, and it is very good. End of quote. Be you therefore at peace, and desire well. For when you feel desire, you are watering your roots with the energy of life itself. Trust it, embrace it, and let the petals of the rose blossom within your holy being. We love you, and we are with you. If you could only see how much enlightened help there is surrounding you at any moment, you would never allow the fear of going astray within your desire to be victorious within your mind. You would step forth with boldness and all things would be made new again. How much of the Creator's love are you willing to receive? Amen. So that's the end of lesson 4. The entire lesson on the energy of desire, and giving us a very different way to understand desire. A way that, as I talk about it, I hope to make more and more clear, to separate out the energy of desire from the targets we use, the targets we focus that energy on. Like, I desire a new car, or I desire to lose some weight, or I desire to get a different partner, or I desire to make $10 million. All of those are targets, but desire, as the Way of Mastery is introducing us to, is this powerful but subtle energy that moves through us, that carries some of those thoughts and words about the targets that we'll point it towards. But the point is never the object. The point is the experience of it. The point is the energy behind it. And as always, we invite people to let us know how it's going if you're working with any of these exercises. Susan, did you unmute for a reason?
Yeah, you've just put your finger on it. It's exactly that place where the desire can be discerned apart from the object of the desire. Any addict would be able to tell you what they want right away, but that desire needs curating carefully and taken back to its source, where I do think health still exists. So it's just it's a good exercise. And there's some excitement in it too.
Excitement in what?
A sense of well-being, to be able to go back to the point of existence, awareness itself, and to start there and find a bit of health in there before you get into trouble.
What do you mean, get into trouble?
Pick something that you're not supposed to pick.
Okay, so I wish there were words to express how grateful I am for your calls and what you're saying, and how you make statements or ask questions that stir up other stuff, but there really isn't any way to say that. But now you're pushing me, unbeknownst to you, you're pushing me to talk about something that I didn't really want to talk about yet. But you're in the judging.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. And
Yep.
lesson 3, right before this lesson, now I'll give you some slack here, because we didn't just finish reading lesson 3 and then move into lesson 4, but we've read lesson 3 probably 3 times or more on the air. And lesson 3 calls us to dismantle every level of judgment.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, true. When you're an addict, there's another.
Not only just being an addict, right? That ratchets it up even more, right? That makes it even more intense. But this is our culture. These are our spiritual teachers. How many teachers do we have that talk about, fear not, fear not, fear not, and then within a day or two or a month or two of their latest rant about how fear mongering is bad, you hear the intensity of the judgment or the fear in their words.
Yeah.
And what what I keep calling people back to is how, of all the spiritual teachers that I've ever read, until the Way of Mastery, Krishnamurti was the one who stood out for me as the one who never went back on. He said, never said, here's a special case. If he says, look, the thought is not the thing, the word is not the thing, just observe what you're doing with your thoughts. The thought is the problem. Be in the moment observing rather than thinking about what's happening. Just be with what's happening and let the truth of it act on you, and then your response will be in a flow. And he never deviated from that. Almost everybody else, including, I just had another person come through my office yesterday who's just reading Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now.
Mm.
And I had a person that was a good friend of mine at the time, and she was so excited when she found that book, and she wanted me to read it. So I read it, and she was all excited when we got back together. How'd you like it? And I said, well, it's all right. She said, what do you mean it's just all right?
Right.
And I said, well, it's Krishnamurti light. And she goes, what? I said, yeah, it's Krishnamurti for the Western mind. What are you talking about? I said, well, this is the quickest way to talk about it. Krishnamurti says, look, don't create a structure of thought. Don't create labels. Don't create artificial, arbitrary delineations of difference that they're all made up in your head.
Mm.
And once he says that and says, don't create all of these concepts and don't create these systems of thought and don't create these clubs and groups, just stay in the moment, alive and bright. And well, then along comes anybody else. I'm not trying to pick on Eckhart Tolle. That was a fabulous book, to 2 or 3 of his books that I've read that helped a lot of people. And yet he starts with things like he talks about the pain body.
Yeah.
What's a pain body?
Right.
It's a concept. It's a construct of thoughts, and it's got these boundaries. And I can't begin to tell you how many people I've had in my personal life and in my sessions over the years, and they come in and they want to debate. Well, that's not what the pain body means. And what are you doing talking about a label about somebody else's? That's what Krishnamurti would warn us to avoid, because it's spinning in thought. It's, a symbol of a symbol of a symbol. And I never know if the meaning I have for it matches the meaning you have for it. So to come back to what you said, right? Your mind has been so thoroughly programmed by our culture and by the different, fads and the flow of rights and whatever that's gone on throughout the course of your life. You're thoroughly programmed, and it's going to take some work to dismantle that negative conditioning that has you thinking, well, we better decide what's right about this person's sexuality and what's the right thing about this person's politics and what's the right to do about this person's finances. And oh, this is a bad thing that I'm desiring. Oh, this is a good thing that I'm desiring. What we're trying to get at in this work is beyond all of that. And when those judgments come up, to acknowledge them and then work to dismantle them, or at least pull back the attachment energy that I've been pouring into it.
Well,
Does
I
that make
have my
sense?
own, yeah, it does. And I have my little method, but I have to do the method before I can get to the pure desire that's just a force of life. I do it on my walks because I'm sort of an itchy, restless sort of person. So I go for a walk and I do my wake up sheets talking to myself. I fill in the blanks by talking. And it's nice that we all have devices. So if I'm talking to myself, I don't look like a lunatic the way I would have 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're still worried about what other people think, huh? Okay.
Shut up, Dr.
Okay.
Tim. I'm doing my best. So yeah, I can get there, but there's always for me a person that I'm trying to impress. And it isn't God, because I figured God's way beneath that, on a ground I haven't found how to put my feet on it yet. There's somebody whose attention and approval I'm working toward. And I dismantle that layer by layer by layer constantly. I'm just telling you, this is a practice. And it's not an easy one, but it's a good one.
It sounds like it's exactly what you need to do, right? Just keep working with it until you find something that works for you. And I don't care how many people are telling you that they're an expert and they know it's not going to work for you. If it's working for you, just use your own life, turn in and check in with yourself. I just flashed on how many times over the years I've had people referred to me by a psychiatrist that wanted them to take, let's say, 5 milligrams of something. And they tried it and it was way too much. So the person cut it in half and it was too much. So they cut that in half. So they're taking, 1 3/4 or 1.5 milligrams of something, and they're feeling a result that they like. And they go back and tell a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist says, nope, can't happen. You're making it up. It's all in your head.
Great.
And when I get that with people, I said, listen, please just trust your own experience.
Mm-hmm.
Please, that doctor doesn't know what she's talking about when she's saying that. That's just, that's somebody who's making proclamations.
Mm.
And one of the things that we've learned with the great spiritual teachings is how little we actually know. The fact of the matter is, we don't have a clue. The way Mastery says, I don't know what anything is or is for. I don't know what any of my brothers and sisters need. And so if I'm starting to make proclamations to you or somebody else, please understand, I'm in a triggered mess.
You on the show?
Well, one of the things I've noticed is byproducts. Every once in a while I talk about my sister, and I said on Michael Rice's show very unwisely that I would like to strangle her once in a while. And of course, that's a terrible thing to say. And he said that's that kind of energy that's the trouble with our country and everything else. And he's right. It's this energy, not that I would do it, but fighting my way into a good connection with my sister, who in so many ways has been a trigger for so many things, and I won't go into it, but I all of a sudden, doing all this desire business, a byproduct was I suddenly realized that we're just alike, my sister and I. We are doing the exact same thing.
In what way?
Well, I think she's a lot stupider about it. Yeah. Well,
in what way are you doing the exact same thing?
All right, this is embarrassing, but who cares? She has had a crush on Kevin Costner for 20 years. And she got mixed up in a scam where Kevin Costner appeared to be trying to contact her. She says, I know his voice, Sue. He called me. I know his voice, and I could talk to him. And he said, he called me sweetheart. And he said he wants to meet me. And so I tried to take a selfie of myself. My sister, mind you, has no teeth. And she's 2 years younger than I am, but she's completely deconditioned and spends most of her days in bed. She does have beautiful clothes and jewelry and takes great pains to fix herself up when she goes out. And she said, I couldn't get a good selfie. I just don't look good in the mirror. And I listened to her and I thought, I was judging her and I wanted to kill her. But now I'm thinking I am no different. I'm no different. I know, it's funny, isn't it? But anyway, all of a sudden, I just feel more aligned with her. I know why she's the way she is. What I did was I think I talked about this, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating and you can tell me to be quiet, but I went online and looked up Kevin Costner's romance scams. And of course, the internet is full of scams with all kinds of popular people. And I sent my sister Joanna, some links. I said, have a look at this. Well, they're full of women like my sister, married or unmarried, who are lonely and looking for something, which I always think of as that's the desire. That is the desire, but it is not the desire. You're talking about something deeper than that.
Yes.
But this is
Something
where
completely different, right? Literally, what carries an energy that carries that thought
it's
pattern,
the
or gives,
energy.
right, or gives impetus or seeming power to that thought pattern.
Yeah,
It's the energy behind the thought. It's not the thought itself.
right. I understand that, but I just can only get there for one swooning moment, and then I'm back doing my addiction thinking. So here's my sister, and I sent them to her, and I said, Joe, I'm so sorry to send you this, but I want you to just not do that, please. And she calls me up and she says, I appreciate that you're sending me this. I'm so shocked. I'm horrified. I won't do it anymore. Well, then I see on Facebook that she has friended Kevin Costner and she's still in touch with him. I called her yesterday and said, Joe, I do the same thing. What are you doing? And she said, I lie in bed and I think about him, and I hate that I do this. I hate that I'm doing this. I can't stop. You know, she and I are really very much alike, and we have reasons for being that way. That's not the cure, giving an excuse. It's like saying I'm a victim. I want to take responsibility and get past that.
Right,
But
but
it's,
reasons are not the same as an excuse, right? Reasons that are used for understanding the dynamics. That's why a book like Fawning by Dr. Ingrid
yeah.
Clayton is so useful, because it helps people understand that there's this powerful unconscious dynamic driving
Mm-hmm.
the fawning response when it happens, and you hate that you're doing it, but you just keep doing it. Well, there's
Yeah.
reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not sick, you're not broken, you're not crazy, you're not stupid, you're not lazy, you're not masochistic, and yet something in you keeps coming to the conclusion that this behavior that you hate is the right behavior for you to do next. And so getting clear about what that dynamic is
Mm-hmm.
really, really helpful. Some might say it's, an essential first step to being able to dismantle it or modify it in some way.
And another step is what you just did. You said you're not broken. You're not, you lose the whole string of words. I think one reason we're so afraid to face things is because we think we really are broken. But if you say we aren't, then we've got something to stand on, and maybe we'll have the guts to take it from there. I'd forgotten that part. It's good you just said it again. Reasons and assurance that we're okay anyway. And you also say you've been through this before, you're okay, all that. That's a good thing in some other cases. I'm not sure it's useful here. But I'm eager to talk to my sister from this new, I really think I can connect with her for the first time, probably since we were little kids. So that's a great thing.
It is indeed. It opens up, unforeseen possibilities. The more
Hoping
we can
so.
be honest at deeper and deeper levels, the more options open up to us.
I just kept setting myself apart as the example. Well, I handled it this way and I'm better off. And yeah, I made some much better choices and I was a lot luckier, and I wasn't the caboose either in the pecking order. Those are big things, but they're not her fault. Anyway, all this coming from, it just astounds me that you are reading this stuff right now. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks, talk about synchronicity. Just mind blowing.
Yeah, sometimes it feels that way, and to me, it's in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, mind blown in a really good way.
Mm.
But one of the things that, I've been struggling with how to talk about is that when people make proclamations, it means they're not coming from the same place that the way of mastery is coming from, with the recognition that we really don't know much of anything. We're making this up. And when we make something up and it leaves us feeling upset or tight or tense or nervous or any of those negative emotional states, we don't have to keep doing that. That's the point of this work.
What did you mean, proclamations?
Well, it's it's a statement that's offered so firmly as a determination, as a proof that the speaker is right, that they're proclaiming the truth, meaning they're affirming the truth, and you can believe them, and you don't need to question this. Here's your. So a proclamation leads to a dogma,
Okay.
right? An unquestioned belief.
Are you saying that if I come to an exciting conclusion and get some hope, I'm making a proclamation and you're going to take that away?
No, no, I'm
Good.
talking about teachers
Mm-hmm.
at various levels, spiritual philosophy teachers, the pundits in politics,
Okay.
etc., when
Yeah.
they make a statement and they make the statement in such a forceful way as to try to compel people to believe this is the truth,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
From my
Yeah.
perspective, blah, blah, blah. Well, I can say
Yeah.
the words from my perspective, but I can put an energy behind it, which implies this is the truth. And if you don't believe it, something's wrong with you. Right? I can put the words in there that are one of the things that the internet and connections has done. It's really helped people refine um, the skills of propaganda and
Oh,
and
yeah.
and redefine it as debate or discussion. But you can say to somebody, "I love you," and it can be flat, or you can say to somebody, "I love you," and it's dripping with anger and
Mm.
through gritted teeth, or you can say to somebody, "I love you," and it carries the energy of the emotion of admiration and cherishing that you want it to convey. So the words aren't, the truth isn't found in the words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all kinds of energy. And so what kind of energy is behind your words? And so, sometimes you'll have teachers that say, like for me, for my money, this is what I'm comfortable with. And you'll have other people say, this is what's right. And that's just not right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's just wrong. And you don't have any right to do that. And with that kind of energy, that kind of intensity, that at least in my mind implies, you know what, if you go against this, you're going to be in trouble. You better watch out. You
Yeah.
better be afraid.
Oh, and there's a terrible danger of going that way when you found something that's so exciting to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, but listen to it. You've got examples of it in your own life. And I just want to help people wake up to pay attention to if somebody tells you, fear not, fear not, fear not. And then a little bit later on, you're listening to them and you can hear the upset or the proclamation or that this is what's got to happen. That's a fear generated response. And if they're not in fear, they are hopeful to engender fear in others with the way they're making that forceful proclamation.
Yeah.
And it's a trap.
Mm. Stay fluid.
Yes, please, if you can. And not necessarily at all costs, but at least when you're not, it's a choice you're making,
Mm.
right? For some specific known benefit, as opposed to just having it be this auto response that my body created when I was younger and had all of these, untenable situations to deal with. And my body geniusly came up with fawning.
Mm. Yeah.
But I might have reached the point where I don't need to fawn because I might be an adult and I might have, financial resources I didn't have, etc. And if it doesn't kick in as that reflexive auto response, then there's this space for me to make a choice. And I can feel the urge, I can feel myself leaning into it,
Mm.
but with practice, I'll be able to catch it sooner and sooner and then start programming myself to have a different response to those situations that I used to define as threatening.
Right. So I'm going to mute. Not that I don't have another thing to say, but there might be other people who want to say something. So I'm going to mute. And if nobody says something, I have another question.
Okay. Should I count to 10 while you're muted? Or do the auctioneers going once,
That's it.
going twice,
I know. Yeah.
going 3 times, sold to the woman with the sailboat icon who has a question.
That was too fast. You didn't give anybody a chance.
Well, from the beginning of your saying, I hope there's somebody else who has something to say. They've got the opportunity. And, I can check my phone. I don't think anybody's texting me saying, can you get that Susan to quiet down so I can speak on the radio show? No such texts.
Okay.
Okay, what's your question?
You said about Elizabeth Guilford and her
Gilbert?
relationship. Sorry about that. I used to live near a town named Guilford, and I keep doing that. Okay. Yes. You said, did she really love the woman that she lived with and took care of through her dying?
No.
And you said no. And I
No.
disagree with you, Dr. Tim.
Listen,
Totally.
please listen. If I said that, I misspoke. And what's
Okay.
much more likely is that it came through your filters that way as
Might have.
something to argue about. I would never have said she did not love that woman.
Okay, good.
I probably said what she did was not out of love for that woman. It was out of her addictive process, about her own fears of being abandoned, etc. And she's clear about that. That I'm
Yeah.
telling you what she has said in interviews and what she's written in the book.
Okay.
I have
Good.
absolute trust that when Liz Gilbert says she loves Rhea, loved Rhea, etc., that she knows what she's talking about. And I want to be clear that she is also very clear, if you read the whole book or listen all the way through in her interviews, that what happened between her and Rhea was really screwed up. It was not love. It was not loving. And she's referring to the part at the end of Rhea's life where Rhea went back into drug abuse
Right. And
and
mistreated her.
Liz enabled it.
Mm.
And it
Enabled it
wasn't,
and took abuse.
yes, exactly. Paid for everything, enabled it, got her the drugs, etc., took the abuse, etc. And it would have continued until either Rhea was dead or Liz was dead or they were both dead. But eventually Liz woke up and realized this isn't right. and she pulled back and withdrew. And only after that happened did Rhea sober up, and so that Rhea could choose to have a conscious ending of her life.
Mm.
But the first thing that had to happen was somebody had to break that system. And
Yeah.
Rhea wasn't in a position to break that system with all those drugs in her.
Mm-hmm.
And the enabling pattern and all the funds that were coming from Liz. So
Yeah.
I absolutely believe Rhea loved Liz and Liz had lots of love for Rhea. And at different points in their long relationship, it was very beneficial for both of them. And the addictive process got in there and really messed things up.
Mm-hmm. Good, thanks. I haven't read I got the book, but I'm busy on another book, and so I haven't started it yet. So thanks. That's good. So I was going to yell at you a lot about that.
Well, no need. No need. Now, there are some other topics you could yell at me about. Feel free
Like
to
what?
bring any of those. I don't know. What do you want to yell at me? If you want to yell at me for something, one excuse is as good as another.
Mm, no, I don't have any yelling to do yet. But if I do, I'll unmute if I think of something.
Okay. Well, I I've done a few worksheets on it, and I've been thinking about how to talk about it. This whole thing about judgment and proclamations and inconsistencies in messages that people aren't aware of, like Guy Finley and all of his talk about a fearless life and all of this true love at a deeper level and all that, and then getting angry at what he sees as distraction or numbing out behavior in the audience that he's talking to. And, that's incongruent with the message that he's sending, that he would generate anger and then talk about it as though, of course, anybody would be angry if looked up and saw that everybody's eyes had gone to pizza or donuts or bacon or whatever. He jokes around about it, but he's rationalizing having an angry tone and reprimanding people. And it's incongruent with the message. That's do as I say, not as I do kind of behavior.
And it's
So
exactly there that you were talking about when you pulled all energy as much as you could away from judgment, because there's so much energy expended when you do that.
keep going. What happens? What are you saying? That I pull my energy away from judgment?
You were saying how much energy you have because you no longer give energy to judging.
Yes.
And you're telling about a situation where Guy Finley is teaching one thing but finds himself doing another thing. And I'm just noting that he's probably spending an awful lot of energy too during that time when he's doing
Yeah.
as he does and not
Yeah.
as he.
You can see it.
Yeah.
You can absolutely hear it in his tone. And we've had this. We've pointed it out at different times in the past with Michael Ryce and with Guy Finley and with. I don't get it from Michael Singer. His message is
No.
consistent, and he chuckles about things. He goes, "It's okay, right? Just learn to be
Yeah, he
okay with
does.
whatever it is." And so he's in that sense, he's closer to what I experienced with all the different talks and books that I read of Krishnamurti.
Mm.
Because if Krishnamurti makes the observation that there's a fundamental flaw in thought, and when you're thinking about something that happened yesterday or the day before that might happen tomorrow, you're not awake and aware in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not
Oh,
awake and aware in the moment, that's dangerous to be walking around. So Michael Rice would use the analogy of driving at night with the lights out. Your
Yeah.
lights go out and you're on a mountain road and it's pitch dark. Well, it's the same kind of thing. And Krishnamurti would call us to understand that the most beneficial way to live your life is in direct observation.
Okay, so another question. When Elizabeth Gilbert was talking about the origins or the causes of addiction, she also mentioned boredom. And I imagine you only are aware of feeling bored when you are with yourself right then. You're in the present, and that's the feeling you get.
I would argue the opposite.
Okay, go ahead.
That if you're with yourself, really awake and aware in the moment, there's no boredom. But when you're not awake and aware in the moment, you're not tuned into your true nature as this miracle of creation expressing in form, then you think some kind of thought about there should be something else going on here, or there's some kind of an internal discomfort,
Yeah.
and you want a distraction from it, and you can't find a distraction fast enough, that's when you generate boredom. Because boredom is an emotional state that you generate. It's a choice, or Michael Ryce would say a decision. It's not, it doesn't exist anywhere but in the mind of the person that's experiencing it. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm getting back to the moment of being present. And I don't think I spend much time there because often I feel it's not boredom, it's like afraid.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's why we have the story we tell from Dale Allen Hoffman, where he says people come to him and they want to take their work to the next level. And he said, well, there's several things you can do. The first one is go home and turn out all the lights and sit in the dark in your bedroom with nothing else on. No mantras, no incense, no meditation chants or anything. Just sit.
Mm-hmm.
Get in the moment with yourself, with your thoughts. Get deeply in touch with the negativity, the judgments, because if they're negative, they're false.
I don't do that.
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay.
And the reason is probably because you generate fear around it.
Yeah.
Where does that leave you?
Trying to get there. My first thought is I have this curmudgeon of an orange cat who won't come in at night. He wears a GPS, so I go find him around the neighborhood. Sometimes he lets me pick him up and bring him home. Sometimes he walks slowly ahead of me, and if I increase my pace, he increases his and stays out of reach. And I eventually give up and go to bed, and he may stay out all night, etc. But last night, what he did was he got under a bush that I couldn't get under to get him. It was too dense, too hard, the low branches too hard, and he got under there and sat there. So I went in the house. 15 minutes later, I go out. He's still under there. Half an hour later, I go out and he's still under there. And I want to sit there and say, you are the Buddha. How do you just sit there? You can take this game much farther than I can. How can you just sit there and do nothing for so long? And I feel like going down on my hands and knees and putting my forehead on the ground. I admire him so much. I can't do that. I won't do that, or whatever it is. It's amazing to me. So that's where I went. I was admiring my cat.
Well, and you might take it from admiring to emulating. You might try to mimic
That's
it.
it. Right. I don't think I could. But there's the assignment. There's the thought.
Well, it's a practice, right? I mean, it's like any other skill.
Can you do it?
I I do pretty darn well after I don't know, 45 years of closer to 50 years of working at it and trying different techniques and different sound things and different mental techniques for meditation and breath work, and I do pretty well at it.
Have you used those sacred acoustics?
I used them once, and thanks for the reminder. I'd like to get back and try that again. I have a bit of a glitch because I'd like to do it with the over-the-ear headphones. And right now, the only thing that's working on my phone, which has the reference for that, is the earbuds that aren't as comfortable. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I tried them too.
Sacred Acoustics. How much did you listen to them?
Not long, a couple of maybe 15 or 20 minute, but I think it's a stumbling block being a musician because I could tell what they were doing. And I started getting into why did you do that? And why did you do this? And this is jarring. And so I didn't, I just started analyzing the heck out of it and stopped doing it.
Okay. Well, as you seem to imply already knowing, if you return to it and you can't stop the analyzing, it won't work so well.
Right.
But it
Right.
might be a good challenge to return to it and just watch the analyzing.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Pema Chodron would coach us in Tonglen or their meditation practice, you just notice when thoughts come up and you just say the word thinking.
Oh, absolutely. I do
Right?
use that.
You just
Yeah.
say, oh, analyzing, and then just
Mm-hmm.
rest back into the breath and see what happens or rest back into focusing on the tones after you just acknowledge, oh yeah, thinking, analyzing.
Okay.
If you're so inclined, that's how I could imagine using it to my benefit,
Yeah,
right? Like
that's a good idea.
whatever comes up when I try to meditate is what I need in that moment.
Oh, okay.
And if I can move into allowance, as the way of mastery calls me, into allowance and surrender and all that good stuff, then it's going to go better, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop the flow of life. The flow of life is going to be what it is. And if I learn to get on life's side, get on the team of life or God or light or love, whatever you want to call it, I'll have a better time of it.
Right. Thanks, Dr. Tim.
You're entirely welcome and deserving. Today's a Thursday, so I'll remind us all that there's a support group tonight from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Central. All the information you'd need to join us is available on the mindshiftersacademy.org website. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff that we call love. We actually are love, and everything